How does ESG reporting tie into the long-term viability and overall strength of a brand?
Well, first you have to decide what a brand is, right? And so at Brand Extract, we love trying to do that. And a lot of times we'll come back to the fact that a brand is a relationship between a customer and a company. And Bo, our CEO, will often say that it's not only just that relationship, but it's the perceived relationship on the part of the customer, right? So whether that customer is a stakeholder or a consumer or a B2B relationship that you've got going on, I think that it's important to understand that a brand is kind of squishy. It's it's a dialogue and a conversation. And what ESG reporting does, in my mind, is that I can align myself with certain values, or I have certain values, and I want to have a relationship with other things that have those same values. ESG reporting, in my mind, gives you tangible data to an intangible asset that is your brand. So it helps not only, support your brand, but it can also influence your brand and transform your brand.
And what are some of those tangible, the brand, because as you mentioned, there's kind of that fuzzy, touchy-feely thing that we all think of when we think of brand. You can't quite put your finger on it. But from a business standpoint, ESG reporting is valuable. And I was wondering if some of you guys can talk about that particular side of things.
Something that I want to mention, kind of tagging on to what Leanne said, was that stakeholders are really expecting radical transparency from customers. That's the stakeholders you mentioned, your clients, right? Your investors, perhaps. I mean, investors are basically passing over companies who are not disclosing anything because it is very quickly becoming standard. I think the other thing to think about too is also your employees. That's another big stakeholder group, right? And there's been a couple of surveys done, and depending on the survey, it's anywhere from 75% to 86% of millennials say they'll take a pay cut at a different company that aligns with their values more. Mm-hmm. That's important to have. If you want top talent working at your company, I think ESG reporting can also help, of course, with everything that you mentioned, Lana, but also attracting and retaining those really smart kids.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, and I think there's the other dimension there with ESG reporting is that that Leanne mentioned at first, is that it's something concrete. It's something tangible. You can say that you value conservation as a company, but if you're not actually employing practices in your operations that reflect that, and then communicating that directly, whether it's in a voluntary report or in evergreen web content or whatever that communication channel is, people don't know that, and I think ESG reporting is a way, is one communication channel. It's a very, very important one, but it's one of many ways that companies can communicate and strengthen their brand. And one example of that, almost exclusively almost every time that we do an ESG reporting plan for a company, when we take time to set a vision and strategic objectives for what they want to achieve from doing an ESG report, almost always there are issues related to brand come up in that process. Mm-hmm. And issues related to these, we weren't thinking of this as an employee engagement tool, but now that you say it, yeah, we're having a really hard time recruiting people. I think as so many companies in every sector become tech companies in their own right, whether you're in manufacturing or energy, the construction. So a lot of the B2B clients that I know we share, those industries with you guys. That's been a tough problem for several years now, because when folks graduate, they want the Amazon jobs, they want the Silicon Valley, the cool, sexy technology stuff, but manufacturing companies need that talent. Oil and gas companies need that talent. So what we've heard clients say is, we used to be competing with each other for talent, and now we compete with Amazon for talent.
Yeah.
And Amazon just being one example, right? So I think ESG reporting in and of itself can help answer some of those questions that prospective employees, that you know, other groups of stakeholders might have and not understand about your industry. It can help answer some of those questions, and at least be a conversation starter, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to that right relationship is everything, doesn't it? Because it's, you know, when we talk about aligning our values or finding, you know, similar passions, I mean, those millennials are, you know, practicing what they preach, not only from their own employment, but also from their investment mindset. I mean, I think that, you know, BlackRock put out in one of its many CEO letters, said something to the effect of, look, just FYI, all of the millennials are asking us about, you know, ESG funds and sustainable investing. So, you know, it's a different mindset. It's not the mindset of my dad from 20 years ago.